for this lesson, I'm going to talk about two different things. I'm going to talk about dimensional analysis and your metrics chart. So first off, I want to just talk about the metrics chart and just kind of familiarize you guys with a couple of things. So on this, I've cut the metric chart in half because if I put the full thing on here, it's going to be too big. So slide 1 and slide 2 are just going to be the chart. The big thing that I'm going to point out a couple of terms. So prefix. So prefix is going to be whatever's going to be in front of our base unit. So everything on the left side is going to be a prefix, and everything over here is your base unit. So in this instance, meters is your base unit, and what your prefixes are going to be whatever's in front of it on the left. So in this instance, it's going to be yada, zeta, hexa, peta, tera, giga, mega, kilo, hecto, deca. And then when you look on the other page, it keeps going, deci, centi, milli, and then all the way down. The only one that isn't a real prefix is angstrom. Angstrom is a little weird. It deals with the distance in between atoms, and we will talk about those when we get to bonding and stuff like that. But for right now, you can kind of just ignore angstrom. But again, going back to this, so what's nice about these prefixes is you can change the base unit to be whatever you want. If you look down below, it says a meter is a base unit and may be replaced with grams, liters, moles, people, elephant, eggs. We can change it to be whatever we want. So for example, if I wanted to say that I had 1 times 10 to the 18th eggs, I could say I have an exa egg. That's all it is. I'm sure most of you have heard the term gigabytes. So a gigabyte is just 1 times 10 to the 9th of bytes. That's where they pull this stuff from. Kilo, you can say this is a kiloliter. So a kiloliter would be 1 times 10 to the 3rd liters. We are going to ignore this section. We've used it in the past. We're not going to use it again. You can just go through and cross off that. So let's start talking about dimensional analysis. All dimensional analysis is it's converting in between 2 different units. The first thing that I want to show you guys is just a very basic problem, and kind of how we set it up before I show you how to use the metrics charts. So with this is going to be a very standard way of seeing our problems. So we're going to take 120 seconds and convert it into minutes. So how many minutes are 120 seconds? Now, some of you can sit there and look at it and go, oh, well, there's 2 minutes and 120 seconds. And can do it in your head. Most of these problems, I understand that you can probably do them in your head, and that's why I'm choosing to pick these. I'm picking things that you can very easily double check yourself to make sure you're doing the method correctly. Because this method we are literally going to use all year long. This will not go away. So, to show you what the method of this is, the very first thing that you're going to do is you're going to write down what you're trying to look for. So you're going to write down question mark, minutes in this instance. And you can abbreviate, so question mark, min. Then we're going to set that equal to 120 seconds. And we're going to put this over 1. So again, the standard is you start off with question mark, what your unknown is. So this is the unknown. Unknown. And then, so there's that section. And then here, you're just writing down what you're given. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start a new fraction. And it'll make sense why we're doing fractions here in a minute. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to cancel out seconds and change that into minutes. So we know that in math class, if you have a fraction, if whatever's on top is the same that's on bottom, you can cancel them out. So what's really nice about this is you can take whatever's on top, and I'm just taking the unit. I'm not even dealing with the numbers right now. And we're going to throw it down below. So I'm going to put seconds. Oops, not seconds down below. Now we want to change these into minutes. So I'm actually going to move minutes up top. That's the unit we want, because now what we can do is we can cross those out and we put numbers in there. Now the big thing we have to do is we have to look and put numbers in with this. And where we're going to get these numbers from is we're going to get these from our equalities. So all an equality is it's just two things that are set equal to each other. So if you think about it, 1 minute is going to equal 60 seconds. That's an equality. Equality. One of them. So what we can do is we can use this equality to figure out the numbers that we're going to use. You can almost think of that equal sign as a wall. Nothing can cross it. So when we go to look at this, 60 goes with seconds. So we'll put 60 down below. And 1 goes with our minute. So 1 goes with minute. And now we actually just have to sit down and do the math. So when we look at this, our seconds cancel. So we can get rid of those, and we're left with minutes, which is good. That's what we want. We look at our numbers, and we clean this up just a little bit and do this down here. We have 120 over 1 times by 1 over 60. And I'm going to ignore minutes for right now. What you can do with this, if you remember, this is going to be the same as doing this. So 120 times by 1 times by 60. So from there, you should be able to realize that 1 times 120 is 120, 1 times 60 is 60, and so you should be able to punch this into your calculator, and you end up getting your answer of 2 minutes. So like I said, I just wanted to do something with this that you understand, that you can do the math without even having to actually go through and do it. Okay, so let's look at this with metrics, because you guys probably aren't familiar with metric charts and doing it with this. So first thing we're going to start off with is we're going to have, let's do these. Let's just say we have 7 kilometers, and we're going to change this into meters. That's what we're looking for. So when I'm sitting here and looking at this, again, same process. If you think you have it down, pause the video, run through it, see if you can figure it out on your own. If not, just follow along. I'll work through all the steps. So we're going to start off with question mark. Meter. That is going to equal 7 kilograms. And I'm going to put that over 1. Because again, this is what our given is. This is our given. Then I'm going to multiply it and then put another fraction. So again, just like I've been saying, we want to get rid of that kilometer. We don't need it anymore. It's garbage. It's trash. We're going to move it down below so it can be thrown away. And then we're wanting to get into meters, so we're going to put a meter there. So now, when we look at our metrics chart over here, we're going to look at kilometers. Again, you can think of these equal signs as a giant wall, and in fact, if you want to draw a line down the middle of it, go for it, so you know that there's that barrier there. When we go to look at kilo, the number associated with kilo, let's see if we can draw it there, yeah, kilo, meter is 1. So 1 goes with our kilometer. And in fact, what's nice, whichever one of these two, whether it's the top or the bottom, whichever one has the prefix with it, so right there, km has the prefix, that'll always get the 1. If you notice on our metrics charts, that's how we've set this up. So then all you need to do is just look across at meters. So we have 1 times 10 to the 3rd. So 1 times 10 to the 3rd. Now when we go to look at this, our kilometers cancel out, so we did do this correctly. So when we go to look at our numbers, we have 7 times by 1 times by 10 to the 3rd on top. Down below, it's just 1 times 1. So with this, it actually equals 7 times 10 to the 3rd meters, or depending on your calculator, it might just give you 7,000 meters. Both of these answers are correct. All right, let's do one more example, but we're going to look at the bottom half of our metrics chart. So now let's just say we're going to go from 35 meters. I'm going to convert this to, let's say, micrometers. So question mark, micrometer. Now, if you notice, micrometer's symbol is a little different. This is the Greek letter mu. They ran out of letters because you can't do mm. Mm is already taken with millimeter. And in fact, if you look at the top portion of this, mm is also taken up with megameter. So megameter, here's capital mm. And in fact, one thing I do want to point out, like, notice capitalized, capitalized, capital, like all of those have capital letters. It's on the top half of it. Typically, the rule of thumb is it's capitalized. Bottom are lowercase, especially if they're doubling up, like with Y and Z. So anyways, to go back to this. So again, pause it if you need to. If you want to, try and work ahead of me and see if you can get the answer. But again, we're going to start off with question mark. Micrometer equals 35 meters over 1. That is going to equal, and then again, we have meters on top, so that's going to go down below. And then we're going to have micrometer on top. We go over to our metrics chart, and we look at this. And again, I'm going to draw my line. So 1, sounds beautiful. 1 goes with micro. 1 times 10 to the negative 6 goes with the meter. So 1 times 10 to the negative 6, and then 1. We go to look at our math. So 35 times by 1, 1 times by 10 to the negative 6. What we end up getting should be 3.5 times 10 to the negative 5th. That is not correct. I just made a mistake. It is not to the negative 5th. It should be to the 7th. Sorry, I was double checking myself with the calculator. Yes, it is to the 7th. If you were writing this out, like my calculator, give it to me in the long form. So yes. Again, both of these two numbers work here. If you write it out long or shorthand, both of those work. Just make sure that you include your unit here. It's going to be micrometer, and this one's going to be a micrometer as well. But just two very quick examples with this. I will post another video of more practice.